It's 5:30, so we'll call to order this meeting for Monday, February 3rd. Jordan, would you start us off with a roll call, please?
Please respond by stating present. Councilmember Ronayne. Fauberg.
Present.
Liebelt.
Present.
Ward.
Present.
Johnson.
Present.
Reinbold. Langer.
Present.
Norvstrup.
Present.
Mayor Shoneman.
Present. Please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
And to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We need to approve this week's agenda. I'd take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I've got a motion. Ward, second Liebelt. Anyone have anything on it? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next is the approval of minutes from our last meeting, which took place last Monday, January 27th. I take a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved. Second.
Got a motion. Johnson, second Ward. Anyone have anything to discuss on any of those? Jordan, we comfortable with everything as
changes from
typed?
staff.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. No one has signed up for our open forum, so our consent calendar will be next. We've got quite a litany of different things, primarily setting hearing dates for a variety of items, as well as a couple of licenses. Would someone care to make a motion on our city's consent calendar for the week?
Move to approve.
Motion Liebelt, second Northstrip. Anyone have anything to discuss on this one?
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Ken if he could explain the rezoning of the county land that's on North Main Street there. That's in this section, right?
Sure. A few weeks ago, the county planner contacted us and requested to rezone their properties to municipal, state, and county use. It's really just a house cleaning item, so they can continue to use them for any uses that the county would see fit placing on those properties. They've the one that you mentioned on Main Street has served as a parking lot for the county for probably 15 years or more. So probably not a lot of changes to those properties, just bringing them into compliance.
Mr. Mayor?
And they don't intend to do anything with it, because that was the old House of Glass property.
It used to be a air conditioned Ralph's Heating and Air. Yep.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's a question that I got from a constituent. It's just what's happening with these parcels of land, and if they'll still be, I guess, within city codes in terms of what can and can't be built there.
Yeah, they'll still be held to the building code standards and the majority of the zoning ordinances. This will just open up the door to their permitted uses versus requiring conditional use or special exceptions for various projects.
But there's no plan right now.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So we've got our motion and our second. Any other discussion from the council? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. 3 items of old business, all ordinance-based from our meeting last week. All will be within our planning and zoning. First is the second reading of ordinance 250101, which is an ordinance which amends zoning regulations in the city code, procedural rules for the Board of Adjustment. And speaking of house cleaning, that's primarily what that entailed. Ken, anything changed since last week's meeting?
We have no changes since first reading. Staff still recommends approval.
Thank you, sir.
So moved. Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Johnson and a second from Councilman Ward. Any final thoughts on this one? Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Fauberg.
Aye.
Liebelt.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Langer.
Aye.
Norvstrup.
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion carries. Next, second item of old business is a possible approval of 250102, which rezones I-2 to C2 property located west of Butler Machinery, because those guys built a beautiful new sign out there, and they need to bring the rest of the property up to code for future potential sales and use. Ken, anything new on that one?
No changes from first reading.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilwoman Liebelt and a second from Councilman Northrup. Does anyone have any final questions or comments on this one? All right, Jordan?
Councilmember Norvstrup,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Fauberg,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion carries. And finally, with the old business section, we've got a second possible final approval of ordinance 250103, which rezones a variety of adjacent parcels on 18th Avenue Northeast, known as the property that we sold off from the holding pond to the adjacent property owners. They want those to be rezoned to be parts of their respective yards. Ken, anything new with that one?
No changes.
All right.
Move approval. Second.
Got a motion, Councilman Johnson, second Councilman Ward. Anyone have any final thoughts on this one? All right, Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote then, please?
Councilmember Fauberg,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Norvstrup,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion carries. We'll move right along to our new business where we've got a possible approval and authorization for our city manager to sign water and sewer rate study update agreement with Banner and Associates. See Amanda back there, but Jordan, your name is on the form. Jordan, would you run us through the update and what we should be doing with it?
Thank you, Mayor. As part of the budget work session last fall and the implementation of those SRF loan surcharges, it became clear that the rate study that we had received in 2024 was severely out of date. Since the plan was compiled with data from 2021 and 2022, the project's amount for the water reclamation facility as well as the water tower, those costs just became astronomical compared to what was contemplated within the first draft, or rather the 2024 rate study. So through that process, like I said, it became clear we needed to look at our rates. There are certain things we need to do to build a rate structure that might encourage more reserved use of water, to maybe discourage some excessive irrigation that we see in the community. So this rate study will allow us to build a better rate structure that differentiates commercial versus industrial and can kind of put a little more pressure on those heavy and residential users that might put a drain or strain on our system. So that's contemplated within this rate study. We'll have lots of dialogue as this thing develops. It's a very in-depth process, but we've done it very recently. We'll probably do something like this every 5 or so years. I'm looking at Stu, Robin, and Amanda as well. They've all been heavily involved in this process. We all know it's needed, and staff recommends approval of this agreement.
So Jordan, question for you. So we increased the rates pretty much across the board by about a 14%. With the knowledge of these SRF loans, do you believe that there's still kind of going to be a shortcoming based on the financing of these projects with the rates that we've implemented for 2025?
Without having bid the water tower, that's a giant question mark. The other big thing is that our water usage has a tiered structure where the first tier goes from 0 gallons to 6 million gallons a month. Whether you're a heavy industrial user or a single family home, you don't hit that second tier until you hit 6 million gallons a month, which is a lot of water. So most municipalities have some type of residential versus commercial distinction, and this will help us capture that in a meaningful way. If we would have done it without the input of a Banner, it wouldn't have been intuitive, and it kind of would have been based on what felt right, but this is the right way to do that.
So is it foolish to ask if users can expect an additional increase based on that water tower, or do you think this will be more shuffling things around?
I feel this is more shuffling it around and allowing us to charge a rate commensurate with use. We don't currently do that in the residential area, and this will really allow us to do that. So if you use a lot of water for purposes like watering your lawn, you may see an increase. You'll likely see an increase, but that's kind of the trend within water billing, water usage, and it may be the environmentally responsible thing to do.
And in terms of us just not doing these calculations ourselves, you'd be more comfortable if we had the input of Banner, who will compare it against other municipalities.
The economics of supply and demand, there's a lot of assumptions to be made in increasing a charge and then the effect of that on users. Some may change their use based on that potential, some may not. I think they'd be better suited, well, I can tell you they'd be better suited to model that for us and provide a rate structure that would translate well into to put it into place. We could do it on our own calculations, but their assistance is much needed. Robin could weigh in on this as well.
All right, Robin, what have you got?
Typically on this stuff, your consultant is going to get deeper into the numbers than what your staff will have time to do. Your staff is in the middle of other things. So this will be a more in-depth study and much more defendable thought process than if we were to do it. There may be some things, if your staff did it, that there might slip through the cracks and we may not be able to answer everything. So this is a much more defensible thought process, I believe.
Mr. Mayor,
All right, go ahead, Councilwoman.
can I give you an example? Jordan, if I'm doing like a survey and I want demographic data, if I ask people just what their age is, then I can later decide, oh, I'm going to put 30 to 34 in one bracket and 35 to 39. But if I first out of the gate ask, are you 30 to 39, I can only assume that they're in there. You know what I mean? So if you just ask for a more refined data, you can then group it later. So is that a question you can ask them, is to have the data sort of as ungrouped as possible so that we can decide our groups? Because if they categorize things too soon, we might be missing a natural break at use.
I think that they've done this many times, and they can help us point out the areas that we should make those breaks, but ultimately it'll be up to us to decide where those breaks should occur. Usage, I can tell you, a household typically uses less than 12,000 gallons a month, but they may be able to provide more insight where maybe it's 10, maybe it's 15. I'll defer to their expertise, but certainly it'll be a conversation that unfolds as we go through the process.
And Jordan, so in your mind, the results of this study would inform the 2026 pricing for people's utility rates?
We would hope to have the data available for that, yes, for the 2026 budget. That's the intent.
From your understanding now, some people's rates may go up because they're heavy water users. Some people's rates may go down.
I think it's plausible that rates could go down for especially those low users.
All right.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead,
Just
Councilman.
another
Ward.
question for Jordan, if I could. So is the study only going to be looking at the rates for 2026, or is it expanding any further on to future forecasting as well?
Sure, this rate will, the rate study will go through 2030, and it'll include the impact of the SRF for the Clean Water 4, Clean Water 5, which we hope to have by then, and also the drinking water loans related to the water tower. The current plan does not include the drinking water loans at all.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. I haven't got a motion or a second on this. Does anyone from the council feel inclined to move this forward?
Move to approve.
Second. Or third.
Okay. I've got a motion from Councilman Ward and a second from Councilman Northrup. Any further questions from anyone on the council? Everyone's feeling all right. Jordan, would you go ahead and give us that roll call vote then for that approval and authorization?
Councilmember Foberg,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Norbstrup,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion carries. Next, we've got a possible approval of the reappointment of Ward Schumacher to the City Planning Commission. That post will continue for him beginning on February 18th. Ken, anything in particular about Ward or that position?
Mr. Schumacher has volunteered to serve an additional 5-year term on the Planning Commission. Ward is a longtime employee at Dakota Bank and has served in this position on the Planning Commission since December of 2017. His knowledge and experience will serve as an asset to the board going forward. In addition, the Community Development Department and City Manager support Ward's reappointment as a member of the City Planning Commission.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion Johnson, second Ward. Anyone have anything to discuss? Ward is a great guy, and I think he's probably a great asset to that commission from my understanding as well. So I am pleased about this appointment and reappointment, I guess. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next, same motion, but the person in question now is Kim Lean, who is also currently on the board, who is looking for a reappointment, also beginning February 18th. Ken, anything about Kim?
Ms. Lean's knowledge and experience as a business owner in Aberdeen, as well as her prior service on this commission, will serve as an asset to the board. In addition, the Community Development Department and City Manager support Kim's reappointment as a member of the City Planning Commission.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion Liebelt, second Johnson. I also think Kim is an outstanding member of that commission. I appreciate her willingness to continue to serve on that post. We've got our motion, got our second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next, we've got the possible first reading of an ordinance 250201. This ordinance repeals plumber examining board and city-issued plumber license requirement. Ken, walk us through what that change will affect.
So it came to our attention that the city has had a plumbing licensing program for many years. For the life of me, I can't remember a license examination or a review or revocation of a license ever occurring in my time here. So we got to talking about it and discussed the possibility of repealing the ordinance since all these plumbers are licensed with the state, we will maintain a database that verifies that they are currently licensed in order to issue our permits, and our our licensed plumbing inspectors will perform all their regular inspections. And we are proposing to move the review process over to the Board of Zoning Adjustment, similar to what we do with the building code reviews and fire code reviews. So we'll eliminate the need for that licensing and oversight board.
Thank you for that explanation, Ken. So more than one time, people doing work in Aberdeen have reached out questioning that requirement, who are essentially trying to hire plumbers from places like Britain, South Dakota, and around. And so had that Britain, South Dakota plumber reach out to Aberdeen, we wouldn't have had any process for them to follow?
In the past, somebody from outside of the city could license within the city, and they could do that work. A lot of plumbers weren't interested in paying the license fee and coming to work in Aberdeen for one project. So this will eliminate that need as long as they maintain their license with the state.
But it solves that problem. That person would have had a process to go through previously. We just hadn't exercised that in quite some time.
We've done it regularly. If somebody wants to come in and do a project in Aberdeen, they can license with the city, and we will take them on as a licensed plumber. The thing that we found was there's a requirement for a test, which we have never utilized. So we've just been basically renewing licenses every year without any testing or any other process.
Thank you for that explanation, Ken. Would anyone on the council care to make a motion on this?
Mr. Mayor, question?
Okay, go ahead.
Just for Ken, so they are still licensed with the state and everything. It's just kind of removing a process that the city wasn't utilizing, but they would, in that example of a Britton plumber wanting to come here, they still have a license through the state. They're still certified to do plumbing. Not like I can just go and come in, but they have to have a state certification for it,
Yep.
correct?
Correct. When somebody comes to pull a plumbing permit, we will verify that they're licensed with the state. You know, the longtime plumbers here in Aberdeen will all be on file with us currently. If it's somebody we're coming in from Britain, we have a means of checking that instantaneously with the state, verifying they're licensed, and be able to issue them a permit right there.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any downside that you see potentially, Ken? I know that we weren't following through with it as it stood, but as per its intended purpose, I look at as a positive, I guess, because it seems like it'll probably open up the possibility to get these guys doing one job from time to time that otherwise wouldn't have because of the requirement.
Yeah, and I would say that going back 20 plus years, through the knowledge of people in our department, nobody can recall a time when we've had to have a review board hearing. So we're not running into a lot of instances where we need to be proactive and deal with a problem plumber. So it shouldn't cause any problems there. It should really just open it up to allow a legally licensed state plumber with the state to be able to do a plumbing project in Aberdeen.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate your work on that. I know that I visited with you about that some time ago. So we don't have a motion or a second on this as of yet. Would someone in the council care to move this item?
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion, Councilman Ward, and second, Councilman Johnson. Does anyone else have any further questions? We kind of got ahead of ourselves a little bit without the motion, but I think it was all right. Jordan, give us a roll call.
Councilmember Norvstrup.
Aye.
Langer.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Liebelt.
Aye.
Fauberg.
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion carries. Ken, appreciate your willingness to make that department a little bit more user-friendly and a little bit more efficient. Next, we've got a possible approval of pay request 2 for our water treatment plant heat exchanger improvements in the amount of $188,235 to Climate Control. Stu, what can you tell us about that project and bill?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So this is a bill to pay for the heat exchanger. Climate Control's crews are planning on, I don't know if it's this week or next week that they're going to install it, but they figured they'd have that whole project wrapped up before March 1st. Get the plant back to more normal source of heat for them, which will be good.
I'll move it.
Motion Johnson, second Northstrip. So what have they been doing in the meantime, Stu?
So they have a series of air handlers that have electric plenum heaters in them. So they're basically using straight electric heat to heat the building right now. We get back to using the heat exchanger and using it actually uses water from the plant to in the heat pump part of the process. And so our utility costs, our energy costs will start to go down again after we do this.
Sounds good, Stu. Appreciate that clarification. Any other questions before we take a vote on that payment? Jordan?
Councilmember Fauberg.
Aye.
Liebelt.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Langer.
Aye.
Norvstrup.
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
I will abstain, but the motion does carry. Next, we've got a possible approval of the proposal by Infrastructure Management Services of Largo, Florida for pavement management software and implementation services. Stu, what have you got?
So this is a program and a process that the Public Works Department has contemplated for a long time. Public Works and Engineering, really. We realize that we have 300-ish lane miles of roads in Aberdeen, and it's pretty difficult to keep a good handle on the condition of all that pavement all the time. This software and the preceding inspection that's going to be performed with the high-resolution camera will give us the information and the data to be able to understand where our biggest problems are with pavement condition in the city. And then from that, we can develop a maintenance plan that we feel will be more cost-effective for the city and will allow us to target our resources. And we're doing this partially because we know that in the next, say 10 or 15 years, you're going to see a tremendous turnover of staffing in the Public Works Department, and you're going to lose a lot of the institutional knowledge that we have, and those guys that knew or remembered why or what things were actually done. And so we're trying to take some steps to prepare for that. And then eventually, I'm talking a lot here, sorry about that, but eventually we hope that this will segue us into an asset management program where we can start to inventory all of our water and sewer and storm sewer and those types of things too, so we can really develop a comprehensive program for doing street repairs. In other words, we have a bad water main. We don't want to go in and replace the street surfacing, do a reconstruction without considering what that, the replacing the water main means. So this is the first step in that process. So we're pretty excited about it, and we're looking forward to having that information and starting to implement a plan from it.
Thank you, Stu.
Mr. Mayor?
How about we go in the proper order this time and have someone take a motion and a second, and then we'll discuss.
I move to support this.
Second.
Got a motion, Folberg. Second, Johnson. Councilwoman Folberg, what question or statement have you got to make as it relates to this pavement management software?
This is bringing me great joy. This is the kind of thing that we need to be doing to make sure we have systems in place to do exactly what Stu said. So I appreciate you finding this. And just speaking from my own experience, are we investing what we need to invest in the people who are going to put the data into the system to be properly trained to do so? And then are we reinvesting in them?
So we have currently staff members, our GIS technician in Ken's department, and also a couple of the guys out in the public works shop have been trained in entering data into into ArcGIS, into our GIS system. So we have staff that is basically trained to do this once they receive the training from IMS to the kind of the ins and outs of their software. So, and then we also would propose that every 5 years or so we would have IMS or another company like that come in and just resurvey all the streets just to make sure that we have things where we need to have them. And we envision this as kind of an ongoing, kind of a continuous process where we're, every time we do our chip sealing, we would be going out or going into the system and making the changes as we're doing the work. So try to keep it very current.
So, Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
Sorry, does this sync with ArcGIS then? Is it an add-on to ArcGIS?
Yes.
So I know years and years ago there was a map with pins on it that showed what the age of different under-street infrastructure, and I understood that all had been brought into the digital age. What are we looking at now for an inventory of water and sewer lines?
So we have a couple layers in our GIS. Well, 3 layers really. One depicts water main, so it shows sizes, materials, and in some cases we have condition indexes. but a lot of that, the condition index stuff, is the stuff that's incomplete. And frankly, there is probably more water main that we simply don't know what the material is. And that's kind of goes the same for the sewer, somewhat less for the storm sewer. But so the idea would be that we can, complete a more comprehensive assessment of these materials in the future, so that we do have a better handle on what we have out there. We've made in the time that I've worked here, we've made incredible strides in eliminating cast iron water main from our system, which is very problematic for water main breaks when we have cold temps like we have now. Our crews replace on average about a mile a year, and so we've made a lot of strides, but there's more that we need to do. There's now, after we kind of cure the cast iron problem, we need to move into the asbestos cement pipe and start working to replace that. So plenty of work to do.
Thank you, Stu. Appreciate that. We got our motion. Our second. Is anyone else? Councilman Johnson, what have
Thank you, Mayor. Stu, are there any other cities we're aware of that are utilizing this IMS software?
Yes, Sioux Falls uses them, and if I had read through my material again, I could remember there's about 2 or 3 cities in South Dakota that either are using or have used IMS for their projects.
Sure. Another question. So does IMS have a vehicle that comes and surveys?
Yes. Yeah. So you've probably all seen the Google car with the crazy looking camera on top of it. It's similar to that.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate that detailed explanation. Looking forward to bringing that process into the new century. So that is very appreciated. Jordan, would you give us a roll call on that approval of the proposal?
Councilmember Norvstrup.
Aye.
Langer.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Liebelt.
Aye.
Fauberg.
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye. Motion carries. Next, possible approval to request to authorize purchase of a 2025 crew cab pickup from the Chrysler Center. Total price on that unit is $46,069. Here to tell us about that vehicle purchase is Chief Joel Weig. Chief, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, Aberdeen Fire and Rescue is requesting to purchase a 2025 3/4 ton pickup from Aberdeen Chrysler Center at a unit price of $46,069. The state bid for this same pickup is held by Wagner Auto at a unit price of $47,286. Aberdeen Chrysler Center was able to meet that price even at a lower price with a cost of $46,069. I'm requesting to purchase the one from the Aberdeen Chrysler Center.
Thank you, Joel. Always appreciate the local business getting a hand in those deals.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion Liebelt, second. Ward, any questions for our fire chief before we take the vote? All right, Jordan?
Councilmember Fauberg.
Aye.
Liebelt.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Langer.
Aye.
Norvstrup.
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here with us. Always good to see you. Next, we've got a possible approval of a request to direct our finance officer, McQuillan, to adjust the water rate charged to the Brown County Fairgrounds. There's 3 of us here listed on presenting that. Jordan, do you want to kick the thing off a little bit? Or would it make sense for me to kind of set the stage?
If you could set the stage, that would be great.
Okay, why don't I do that? So, in an effort to improve and make relations with the county as good as possible, myself and various other folks from around the city have intermittently visited with folks in county leadership and try to knock off different contentions one by one, with the ultimate goal, of course, being to have a harmonious relationship with those neighbors. And one of the issues that they've brought up that has been continuously bothersome for them has been their out-of-city rates that they're paying for the fairgrounds, water, that is. The point that they had made when they first brought it up was for generation, that water tower, which belongs to the city, has sat on their property for $0 in rent. And so it bothers them that they're paying twice the rate for water since they're an out-of-city entity. And frankly, I thought, sure, that seems like an easy fix that we could make to improve that issue with them, to ultimately take a step forward to improving the relationship as a whole. And so Jordan looked into the dollars and cents involved, and we're probably looking at a number lower than $10,000 per year. Should the fairgrounds be annexed in the future, that would be a cost that would disappear anyways. And so I think as a showing of good faith, I think that it would be a good form to give them in-town rates for that property, if nothing else, because they give us free rent for the water tower itself. So that's my 2 cents on the topic and how this came to be. Jordan, is there anything to add to that?
I would just add a little bit to the why. You might wonder, why are they being charged double? It's our fee schedule where we charge those out-of-town users that have not annexed double the rate of normal domestic use. So that is why we have been charging that, and that is our policy, whether it's residential, commercial. That's in the fee schedule.
Thank you. Thank you, yes, and I do believe that that's probably a reasonable policy in most circumstances, just as it relates to these guys who are partners of ours in so many endeavors, and hopefully improving things in the future. Hopefully this will show good graces on our behalf and open the door to have more collaborative relationship.
I move to approve. That's a good idea.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilwoman Liebelt and a second from Councilwoman Langer, who was on the television just a moment ago. Welcome in person, Councilwoman. Does anyone have any questions or comments on the council? All right, Jordan, would you give us a roll call?
Councilmember Foberg,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Norvstrup,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you very much, guys. Next, we've got the possible approval of the city's commitment to participate in the Brown County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan and authorize the mayor to sign that commitment. Speaking of county relations, Jordan, what could you tell us about this hazard mitigation plan?
Well, thank you, Mayor. I can tell you I know a lot less about FEMA hazard mitigation than I do about utility rates. But this came to us from the good folks at the Northeast Council of Governments. They're reaching out to all the cities that they serve, asking them to renew their agreements that they have for this purpose. You'll see a similar item as this in most cities and counties across the region. This allows us to submit the application for 2027, which may seem like it's a long ways away, but this takes a lot of work, and this is coming to, like I said, from NECOG, and staff recommends approval.
Sounds good. City Manager Robin has a few points to add to that comment as well.
The one reason why it's very important to us is, number one, we're a community rating system community. And so without being part of this multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation system, we are not eligible to get those discounts on our flood insurance. Secondly, it is very important for the planning process to be able to be eligible for federal grants should there be a disaster. So if we don't do it, you're at risk of losing funding in the future for things. So it's important we participate in the process, and that's what it is a participatory process where we give our input for the whole county, and we have our own portion in that plan for the city of Aberdeen. So,
thank you for that additional clarification. Robin, is there any cost involved in this?
I don't think we had any costs. I think most of what happens, it comes through a grant, number one. Number two, our participation is part of the in-kind participation. They count our salaries toward the grant. So I think that's really all we're doing. I don't think there's any actual out of pocket.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I would take a motion to
Move approval.
Motion Johnson, second Norvstrup. Anyone from the council have any questions? All right, Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote then?
Councilmember Norvstrup.
Aye.
Langer.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Liebelt.
Aye.
Foberg.
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion carries. Next section of the meeting will be claims and payroll. First is our bills, of course, and second is the pay period for our employees, January 26th through February 8th. I would take a motion to pay our bills.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion Liebelt, second Ward. Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Foberg.
Aye.
Liebelt.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Langer.
Aye.
Norvstrup.
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Abstain, but the motion does carry. Next, we've got our city manager's report. Robin.
Okay, first item, we did do a 10-year certificate of appreciation to Joey Padfield, who's in Parks and Rec. He's been there 10 years, does work in the maintenance side for the ARC primarily. And he has moved up the ranks through them, and we congratulate Joey for his 10 years with us. Secondly, our new and improved, no, that's unfair. Our new HR director, Kristen, is here. I don't know, Kristen, if you want to get up and just introduce yourself briefly.
Good evening, Council. I'm Kristen Kroll. Nice to meet you all. Thank you.
Nice to meet you, too.
Thank you.
Do you want to give us just a brief background of where you come from and what you've done?
Sure. I am originally from Millbank, South Dakota. Moved here about quite a while ago. Most recently, I've worked at 3M and worked at Agtegra as well for about the last 9 years as well. Excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, I think there's a couple things too. I didn't give you this ahead of time, this assignment, so you're gonna have to wing it. 2 items: snow removal.
Sure.
That you're doing, and secondly, Moxon Creek, where we're heading with that.
I would have been surprised if you didn't ask
Okay.
about that. So snow removal. We didn't do an official snow removal. We hit all the emergency routes this morning. Finished that up. Late morning, early afternoon, I suppose. And got to looking around at downtown and thought it looked kind of crappy. So we did what Robin likes to call a quick and dirty snow removal downtown, or we're doing it right now. So basically, we windrowed all the snow up to the middle of the road and ran the snow blowers around and ran some skid steers on Main Street and cleaned things up. Just based on the forecast, I just want folks to know that there's probably a fair chance that we'll have another snow removal coming up. Looks like maybe an inch of snow on Wednesday, and then right now the Weather Service is saying 3 inches on Friday. So, but I did hear earlier today that could be up to 6 inches again. So, so that's snow removal. So, yay. And then Moxon Creek, I would consider last week when we started doing the cleanup out there to be kind of the trial period, trial and error period, trying to figure out what worked and what didn't. And we were all pleasantly surprised that the ice is holding the equipment up and it's not breaking through, which would really suck. And so the guys kind of hatched a plan late last week, Thursday, Friday, to kind of leave a space in between where they're excavating and the area where they cleaned up upstream. And what that's allowing them to do is just work a little bit more efficiently because there's not as much water as what they were dealing with last week. If any of you were out there and watched, they would take a scoop of ice and sediment and just hold it there to let the water kind of decant off of the bucket and then load it into the trucks. And this way they can move a lot quicker. I haven't heard what our production has been this week or today, but I think it's probably pretty good. We have an additional hoe rented, And I think now that snow removal stuff is kind of over with, we'll be able to start using that tomorrow. And hopefully we can get some real good production going here. So it's kind of exciting to watch.
Thank you for that update, Stu. Really appreciate the work on that. That has been a long time coming. It's very good.
And that's all I had for tonight.
All right, we do have an executive session. It'll comprise of personnel matters, and so we asked that we'll maybe take a few moments, clear the room of anybody that doesn't need to be here for that, and then we'll call that session here in just a moment.